Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Week 9, we are back. Episode 9, Squeeze the Juice is back. The boys are back. I'm not too happy. Evan's laughing, having a good one. Good time on that side of the table.
Well, for me last week, it was one of those weeks where I just tread water, right? I was kind of on a little bit of a heater as of late. Kind of came back down to earth this past week, but I'm never going to complain going 4-4. It's not like I'm making money, but I broke even. We'll take it. You, on the other hand, not the same kind of luck. So let's just break it down right here, right now.
Run it down for me.
So after last week, I was 2-1 in the college games. In the championship games that we picked, you were 0-3. That's a tough break. And then the NFL, I was 2-3. Gave you the Pats on Thursday night. That was the additional loss I had. You were 2-2. So you split there in the NFL, bringing our records now in college. I'm at 20-15. You're at 15-20, so we got the inverse there.
Gosh.
NFL, I'm 22-17-2. You, on the other hand, are 21-17-2, bringing our total record. Mine is now sitting at 42-32-2. You are 36-37-2.
Ooh.
Under 500. We got a good slate of games to get back, though.
Revenge tour coming
Exactly.
this week, baby.
So some of those college games that we had last week, we picked 3 of them. Utah at USC. We were both on USC minus 2.5. Utah blows them out in the second half. They win 47-24. A tough week. A tough weekend matchup for them, I think. Utah just has their number for whatever reason. That was USC's only 2 losses on the year, both to Utah. First game somehow much more of a game than this one was. Caleb Williams, he got hurt. I think it was midway through the second quarter or early in the third, something like that. Got hobbled, hamstring issue. Not sure if he's going to play in the Cotton Bowl against Tulane, but I know you got your thoughts on Caleb Williams. I'm still ride or die with Caleb. He is my Heisman. He's one of my favorite college players, honestly, of all time. I love watching him play, but let's hear what you got to say about my guy, because after that performance and after USC's performance overall, they probably got what you're about to say. They got it coming, so let's hear it.
Last week I said Caleb Williams was legit, which he still is, respectfully. He's still a great quarterback and a great playmaker. But I said he was him. I said you can't go against this guy because he is hitting the Heisman pose on the sidelines. And I know the injury is a factor, but you still got smacked by Utah. You knew how to play them. You lost by 1 in their territory. Everyone was like, okay, it was their territory, a night game. Everything stirred up. You thought Utah would probably win that game, which they did, and it was close. But neutral site, Pac-12 championship on the line, playoff opportunity on the line, arguably an extra push for the Heisman, and it doesn't happen. Like you said, Utah has their number, and it was a sight to see. And I'm no longer claiming he is him. I unfortunately, with the injuries that have happened, I still will have to give him probably the most votes for the Heisman, which he probably will win, which I'm happy to have him win over C.J. Stroud, 100%. But he's still a great player. I would still respect him at the end of the day, but he's no longer him, and it's going to be hard for me to trust him, but we'll see what happens going forward.
No, he's still him. You just got to give a credit to Cal Whittingham, the Utah head coach. Give credit to Cam Rising. Give credit to that Utah defense. They made it tough on him, and they played really good.
Cam Rising is him. That dude got smoked, stood up, put his helmet back on, and delivered a smack.
He's a dog.
Championship.
He's a dog, but you know what? At the end of the day, USC, this is their first year back. They were 4-8 last year. They come back this year. Really solid year, 11-2. And
potentially a 12-2.
Yeah, depending on the bowl game. Yeah, but still, 11-win regular season. Caleb's coming back next year. They still got Lincoln Riley. They're going to be fine. No one was expecting them to even be in contention for the playoff at the beginning of the year. I mean, we thought maybe there's a shot with like Lincoln Riley, Caleb. Okay, there's some talent going in, right? But this was a 4-8 football team last year. It takes a minute sometimes. Very similar to MSU for me. MSU last year, 11-2. Really just, you didn't see it coming, right? And they They bought in. Wasn't the most talented group of guys, but you had one special player in Kenneth Walker. You got that in Caleb Williams. Unlike K9, though, Caleb is going to win the Heisman, and he's going to be back next year. I have total faith in USC. Moving on, though, to the Big 12 championship game. Best game of Saturday by far.
Unreal.
Unreal game. My Wildcats. Not really my Wildcats.
Yeah, you can't claim the Wildcats.
I'm claiming them now.
You can't claim them after you were bashing them after they smoked your Cowboys. Shut out 42-0 garbage.
I don't care. They're my Wildcats now.
Garbage.
Plus 2.5. They get it done in overtime. Big fourth down stop at the goal line. You're on the Horned Frogs minus 2.5. Deuce Vaughn.
It was right
Will
there.
Howard and that K-State defense.
Deuce Vaughn
They came through, and you know what? Credit to Max Duggan. He played his heart out. He was gassed. He could barely breathe at the end of the game. But Kansas State just hung in there. It got dicey late, and they made the plays to get it done. That's Kansas State football. That's what they've been all year long. And you just had a feeling a loss was coming for some point at TCU. You weren't sure if it was going to be against Baylor, if it was going to be against Texas. It came now against Kansas State. Unfortunate for you because there's a shot the Horned Frogs could have won that game easily.
All they had to do was give it to Duggan. You know what?
They got some talented backs. Kendra Miller, he's talented. I don't think you can blame him for going with him on the goal line
I
on
think
third
so.
and goal and fourth and goal. But you're right.
So.
You got to give Duggan, the playmaker. You got to give him the ball. But
who I don't remember who said it, but someone made a statement last. I want to say it was like Ben Roethlisberger, but I don't think so. But there was a quarterback who made a statement, and he's like, "If you are on the goal line or you have inches for that next down, what logic is it to give it to your back? He has to go an extra 5 or 6 yards, and you have to go the inches that you need. What logic is there? Especially with Duggan, the way that man bled out and almost died on that field. It wasn't even like he gave his heart. He literally was could have died on that field.
He looked like he was gonna pass out, but I'm not complaining. Kansas State got it done. My Wildcats. Shout out to you guys.
Okay, he can't claim them.
Let's go,
he
baby.
Cannot claim them.
And then the last
He
game.
hated him all season. Didn't believe in Manhattan, baby. This guy is a fraud for Kansas State. He just hit on the big week.
I believe in them when it matters most, and that makes me a true believer.
Oh, get out of here.
Unlike you.
Get out of here. Deuce Vaughn is the best.
When it matters
incredible,
most,
though.
when the lights are brightest, Deuce delivered.
Deuce Vaughn's great.
And Kansas State delivered
Deuce
the win.
Vaughn is great.
We love that from the guys. And then last game, my Green Wave. These are my Green Wave.
I'll let you claim those guys.
45-28
I should have rode the
over
wave.
UCF. Got close there at the late, I think it was the fourth quarter.
Every
Got
game I
close
pick
late.
gets close in the fourth.
And then Tulane said, enough's enough. They laid the hammer down. Explosive all day long. Big play after big play. Really impressed with what Willie Fritz did this year. And now Tulane has a Cotton Bowl appearance against USC. That's going to be a crazy, fun, I think very offensive, high-paced game.
That could be a big shift. Like, it could be a big... If Caleb Williams doesn't play, that's a big shift to Tulane.
Oh, for sure. But, I mean, even so, Tulane...
It's still
this is a great year for Tulane. They're really putting themselves on the map. With Luke Fickell now out of Cincinnati, and with Cincinnati going to the Big 12, there has to be someone to rise up in the American Athletic Conference. I think it could easily be Tulane. What Willie Fritz is doing there, they have a really fun environment. It's New Orleans. I mean, that's a great place to go if you're, maybe not
going to LSU.
A 3-star. Tulane. Why not? So proud of the guys. Green Wave -4. I hit on that. UCF +4. Sorry.
It was almost
but
there,
I'm not
though.
sorry
It was almost there.
Tulane.
I'm happy they won. I was rooting for them, but I'm like, UCF, you're hitting everything right now. And then they threw that dumb, I think it was interception or something.
Couple turnovers,
yeah.
And look, Tulane just got it done. It was
I'm happy with that.
Awesome. To the NFL now, though.
Aye.
Bills at Patriots. Bills 24-10 over the Pats. I was on the Pats. That was one of my specials. The Evan Ewald Thursday night primetime special.
I'm glad we didn't bet last night's game.
Yeah, I'll say. But crazy enough, the Patriots offense looked horrible. No surprise at all, right?
They got the
Matt
one man, the
Patricia's
bad
just
man
been
calling
terrible.
it.
I thought they took a step forward after the Vikings game, but I think that's more of a shot at the Vikings defense than it really is the Patriots offense.
Agreed.
And the Bills, for the first time all season, ball control, very slow, long drives. I was impressed by what they did. And quite honestly, they just got the Pats number right now after that playoff game last year. It's the tides are turning, and unfortunately, as a Pats fan, it's tough to see, but you got to be accepting of it and hope that at some point the tide turns back in our favor. Jaguars at Lions, though. Enough of the Patriots. Lions winning
go,
40-14 over the Jags. We were both on Lions -1. Kind of a scary line, when it's basically a pick'em game. You don't really know where to go, but we believed in the hometown guys, and they made that a snooze fest. And that's the best kind of Sunday when you don't have to worry about the game and you can just kick your feet up, drink a beer, and have a good time watching your guys win. That was dominant by the Detroit Lions. Unreal performance by them.
Absolutely. This could have been the best weekend in a long time it's been building up, but that was just something the Lions fans needed to see after that unfortunate loss on Thanksgiving.
I agree. And obviously you win like that, everyone's going to be happy, but it wasn't really something I expected. Like, I think we kind of talked about, like, we're going with the Lions here. You're trusting the hometown team.
They should probably win.
It was a -1. You feel like maybe that's a letdown spot, an emotional last-second loss to the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving. You come back and follow that up with a stinker. It's possible, but they performed. They got it done. And 40-14, that doesn't happen often in the NFL where you win by 26 points.
Absolutely.
It was a great performance. Game 2 of our Sunday slate, Jets at Vikings. Vikings 27-22 over the Jets. The Jets had opportunities late. They had 3rd and goal, 4th and goal, kind of similar to TCU from within inside the 2-yard line, basically. Couldn't punch it in, got the ball late again. And, well, what do you know? They couldn't get the late touchdown. Losing by 5. We were both on Jets +3. Tough one. Vikings, give credit to them. Red zone defense stepped up all day long. They were forcing kicks. They were not giving up points in the end zone. And what do you know? They win by 5. They cover the spread. And those annoying, pesky Vikings just keep winning one-score games now. 9-0 in one-score games. You feel like at some point it's got to turn, but hey, they keep getting it done. Titans at Eagles. Game 3 of our Sunday slate. Eagles destroying the Titans. A.J. Brown revenge game.
I did not know what to expect from
that one. You know what? I think we just did not really cap it good enough. I think we kind of were like, okay.
The Eagles have been kind of down. Titans can get it close, but
we didn't even think about A.J. Brown
going nuts.
No, going nuts and having some kind of personal agenda against the Titans. And it made sense, and it just didn't really cross my mind.
And the dominoes fell within the Titans organization.
Yep, they fired their GM because the ownership was like, you traded A.J. Brown, and now he's torching us. Really? You're gone. And I was shocked, but honestly, that's a fair criticism of him.
You got rid of our best player.
A.J. Brown's one of the best receivers in the NFL. You have to pay him. Like, you just have to. He's 25 years old. He's dynamic, strong, gifted, athletic. It's like, come on. I know you want to play the cheap game, and look, they got Treylon Burks, and maybe he'll be something. I like Burks. Don't get it twisted, but
you could have had both.
The odds of him being because they traded.
Oh, the trade would have made it. Never mind.
Still, the odds of him being A.J. Brown, like, how good are they? So
you already had something for real.
Right. Anyway, last game of our NFL slate from last week. Dolphins at Niners. Jimmy G, foot injury, might be out for the year, might not be. Who knows? Brock Purdy gets it done, though.
Yeah.
Niners winning 20. I have 23-17, I think.
Purdy boy.
I think I have that wrong.
I think it was more than that.
I think it was more than that. I think it was 29-17.
Double check.
Regardless, we were on Niners -4. They covered the spread. And quite honestly, that Niners defense, it just continues to perform.
33-17.
33. See, I just mistyped it. Yeah, 33-17. I knew it was more than that, but dominant performance by the defense. Really impressed with what DeMeco Ryans has done, and Kyle Shanahan just continues to get it done with the misfit toys on offense. You can plug in any quarterback in there, and he gets it done because the offense and the scheme and the playmakers around the QB really just makes life easy. I know that offensive line has been banged up recently, but it's getting healthier. The defensive line is getting healthier, and when you see it all on display,
it's a pretty sight.
I'm telling you, Super Bowl pick still locked in with the Niners, even with Brock Purdy.
He's a good man. He was drafted Mr. Irrelevant. He made himself relevant this week.
He made himself very much relevant. And look, I don't even think he's that. He's not that talented. He's not that gifted. But it's what you're asked to do.
He's a smart guy, and he's a vet.
He's going to take care of the football.
I mean, obviously,
he was a veteran at Iowa State. Was there for, I believe, 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
So he's a smart kid, knows how to run an offense, and you just can see it. Like the Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, CMC, Ayuk, they all have faith in whoever's run the offense because, well, they got Kyle Shanahan, one of the most gifted and elite play callers and game manager coaches that we have in the NFL. So that's our recap. Overall records. Once again, I am sitting at 42, 32, and 2. Justin is sitting at 36, 37, and 2. We're going to get it up this week, though.
Get your money up, not your
and
funny
it starts, it starts right now.
All righty, folks. That was quite a rundown.
Always a good rundown.
It's a down week in college. There's only one kind of fun game that is actually being played, which we would talk about in a bit. But we're just going to kind of go through the rundown of how we are viewing the current playoffs for college football as we head into the big one, the big 2023 playoff. Even though it's played in 2022, it is the 2023 playoffs. It was an interesting setup. We were waiting to see if the Buckeyes were going to slide in. We were both hoping they didn't. USC didn't come through, so it was a high % chance they were going to be in, and then TCU didn't get it done, so that just increased their odds. But biggest thing is, how do you feel about the committee keeping TCU at 3?
I hated it. I hate TCU at 3. Because here's my thing. I've been saying it for a while now. I have thought of TCU as a very fraudulent team.
Like the Vikings.
They're like the Vikings. Look, I get on paper they have a good strength of schedule, right? They in the result column they get the wins. But when you're watching TCU play, you cannot sit there and honestly tell me that they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. Now, do they deserve to be there just based on results? Yes. But I'm kind of an eye test guy, especially when it comes to college football. They don't pass the eye test for me. And so for USC, who I do love, and they aren't deserving of a playoff spot because they did lose twice, and in the fashion in which they lost, I would say 2 in the Pac-12 championship game, they didn't deserve to be in. But when I watch USC, I think I'm watching a team that has the potential to be one of the 4 best teams in the country. When I watch TCU play, I know I'm not watching one of the 4 best teams in the country. And that doesn't mean they don't deserve to be in the playoff. I'm just telling you, it doesn't make a ton of sense for them to lose their conference championship game and nothing happens to them. On top of, they don't look the part. So that is my issue with TCU at 3. I don't know how you're feeling about that, but that's just where I'm at.
I get the problem with people not liking Ohio State at 4 and TCU at 3. I get it makes sense that, hey, you lost, you should get put back, and it makes sense because the next team waiting should just slide in place. Both won loss. But they took into the fact that TCU was in their championship game. Ohio State wasn't. It was a close game down to the wire. The schedule on the season, ranked opponents, they actually took all that into account. So most people have been actually saying that it's fair that they actually took that into account and wasn't just name biased. But I also think that there is the factor that the committee is kind of hoping that they could get a nice Michigan-Ohio State title game. I think that's slightly in the back of their minds. It wasn't prominent, but I think that's in the back of their minds. But
I mean, maybe it's so because Ohio State's got to play Georgia now. I should say Georgia has to play Ohio State now. I mean, look, Michigan is minus 7.5 against TCU right now. Subject to change, sure. We got several weeks to go before we get there.
Because it opened at like 9.
It was open at 9.5. It's down to 7.5 right now. But I'm telling you right here, right now, like we're gonna obviously make these picks at some point. I don't know how I'm feeling about the Georgia minus 6.5 against OSU. I am hammering Michigan minus 7.5. Michigan is going to blow the doors off of the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. They're going to they're going to smoke them. It is going to be 30-point plus.
Wow.
I'm just telling you how it is. I'm just telling you how it is. TCU, they're a joke. They deserve to be in the playoff because they have ranked wins.
You're just like, you don't like the spot
But you have to watch them play. It is so easy for any casual fan to be like, look at TCU's strength of schedule. They have 12 wins. Of course they're a playoff team. Don't be a casual fan. Watch the games and tell me they're a top 4 team. You can't.
Because they're all fighting back for their lives to get
They're
those
down
wins.
in the second half constantly. They were getting blown out at home against Kansas State before Kansas State went to their third-string quarterback. They should have lost to Baylor. These are not good. Kansas State's a good team. Baylor's not a good football team. This is a really down year for Baylor. And they should have lost. And that's just not you didn't see Michigan have any single game where against an inferior opponent they're like, they might lose this game. There was never a doubt. Georgia had the one little game with Missouri, and that was it. And then Ohio State, I hate them, and they got blown out by Michigan, and I can't believe they're in the playoff either because after what they did at the Shoe against the Wolverines, they don't really deserve to be in here either.
What's their best thing? The Penn State win is their only good win.
Notre Dame. But Penn State's probably their best win.
Yeah.
But, I mean, outside of the Northwestern game, which was a sloppy, ugly game, Ohio State really didn't give you a scare either. I mean, maybe Maryland too. That was kind of close. But TCU every week was fighting for their lives, and they got the better end of it. I look at them. There's not a top 4 team, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to sound like an old head. I'm going to sound like that crazy grandpa, but I would have put Bama in. I would have put Bama in. I know they don't have as good of a win as TCU does.
But they're that team
but
still.
Bama.
The pedigree.
It's the pedigree, but it's also, they went on the road so many times this year, and they lost in the last play to Tennessee and LSU. Now
it's like TCU's season on the flip, flipped over.
TCU was getting the breaks. They were winning at the last second. Alabama wasn't. And when I look at Alabama, sure, they're not the same Bama team, but I see a football team that could actually compete in one of these games. TCU's not going to compete. Michigan by 30 at least. That's my rant. That's my soliloquy. I am done. I'm done with TCU. Michigan. I'm a Sparty. I graduated from Michigan State. You know I don't like Michigan.
Yeah.
You know I'm not on the Wolverines.
You
ever.
used to love Michigan.
Times have changed. Mistakes were made back then. Mistakes were made back then. I have had a change of heart.
Yeah.
You can slit my wrist right now. Green will ooze out. I'm telling you right now. It pains me to say this. Michigan is going to be in the national championship game after blowing out TCU. Who knows if Michigan will win it? I think Georgia probably ends up winning it all again.
I'd just like to see a competitive game between that.
Michigan's going to, I'm telling you, people were complaining, so like people that we talked to, complaining so much about like Ohio State getting in or Ohio's, like even some like TCU staying at 3. It's like, guys, you got such a good matchup. Just be grateful that you get to play TCU, which is a bye week. And it is. It's a bye week, and now you're going to be playing for the national championship game, something that Michigan has never done. Never. Because
they had a share one.
Yeah, they had the share one. But they've never played for the national championship game, and you're going to this year. It's incredible. It's incredible what Harbaugh's done. Credit to him, but yeah, man.
He's a zen, dude.
I don't know what happened. I think after the COVID sit-out game against Ohio State, I think that really saved him because if they got blown out by Ohio State, like I know it was a COVID year, but Justin Fields and that off, they were going to put up 100 points. Michigan was terrible. That was Aiden Hutchinson's junior year. It was a horrible year for Michigan. Justin Fields in that offense, they would have put up 100 points. And that would have been the end of Jim Harbaugh. Them sitting out that COVID game, like, I mean, let's call what it is. They backed out. They said, we don't want any part of this. Okay? I'm not being disingenuous. That's quite literally what happened. Even if they don't want you to believe that that's what happened, I'm not going to apologize for that. Them sitting out that game saved Harbaugh because you don't come back from 100-0 because that's what the score would have been.
That's
You would have had Justin Fields hold up a Wilt Chamberlain 100 sign. That's what would have happened. That's what would have happened in the
I would
horseshoe.
give you $100 if that would have happened.
I swear to God that would have
and
happened.
I would have kept my 100.
No chance. That would have been in my pocket. Fat Benjamin right there.
100 for 100.
Facts. But I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, we'll see what happens in the playoff. I'm excited for it because I do think once we get past the semifinal, I think we're gonna have a really good game.
Yeah. One thing and the thing is, no, I'm not even going to bring that up. That's a dumb statement. I'm not even going to get that out of my head. This is a season where I wish we had two things. Either the BCS style was here or 2024 playoff style was here. Because Michigan and Georgia are sitting there, and that would be great. Just automatic 1-2, be done with it. Shout out Fox. But the amount of talent that is like of teams in like the top 15 at least right now is crazy. There have been so many upsets, so many good teams. Like a playoff this year would have been great.
Yep, expanded playoff is going to do wonders for years like this year. I think when you have 2 or 3 dominant teams, like the first year of the college football playoff, all 4 teams were good. Like you had Bama, Ohio State, I believe it was Oregon,
Oklahoma?
And I want to say Florida State.
You're right.
I believe that was a playoff.
Yeah.
And that year, all 4 teams were great, and we're like, the college football playoff is awesome. And since then, most of the time it's been like 1 or 2 dominant teams, and
one
you're like, okay,
pretty good, and then the one that got to just scoot in.
right. So it's like with the expanded playoff, in a year like this, where I know Michigan and Georgia have been dominant, but at the same time, I think they're both gettable. Like, I don't think anyone really fears either. Like, I know TCU is going to get blown out, but I don't think TCU fears Michigan. Like, this isn't some crazy, like
Bama legend
like
team.
yeah, like Terminator. Like, that's not either of these schools. I mean, I think Georgia's closer to that, but still, I agree. Expanded playoff would have been great this year, or even just let's have Georgia and Michigan
because that's
beat
what we're
it out.
expecting.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I think, yeah, like we talked about before. I don't know if I think I might have said it on here before, but my expectation is, Michigan's ceiling is right now is a tight game against Georgia in the championship. If they win, that'd be incredible. But right now, that's what I'm still looking at. We'll see how it goes.
I think the ceiling's a national championship. I do.
You think Michigan can win a championship?
I mean, you're here.
That's true.
Like, why not go win it?
Heck yeah.
I'm not saying they
McCarthy
are.
just sits in the end zone. He closes his eyes and he just starts floating.
I'm not saying they are going to win it, but you're in the playoff. You got a shot, and look, you're not a fluky team either. You're not TCU. Like, Michigan's legit. They have just as good a shot to win this as Georgia or even OSU. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Even though I hate Ryan Day, I hate CJ Stroud. They're both frauds, but you got a shot. You're in it. You're the second best team in the country right now. You got a shot.
It's fair. It's a fair statement. Is it still is the Georgia game still 6?
6.5.
Okay. Because that opened at, I think, 7 and then went down right away. That's crazy. Both of them went down right away. But we'll see what happens because we'll see how much it fluctuates over the next couple weeks. Because we'll be picking that at the end of the month. So that will be a great thing. But we'll get into that as time goes on. Bowl games coming up. We might talk about a few of those as weeks go on. But we'll see what happens. As we move past the playoff, we're going to do a little shout-out of this week for this game, a little fun one, because it's the only bigger game that actually is being played, and kind of the only game that's being played this week in college football. It is the annual Army-Navy game, which is exciting. I think they got, I think Navy's favored, but I don't know by how much. The other day when I checked, it was -2.5. I might have to double-check again. I don't know what you have on your end. It's now Navy on ESPN. It's Navy -3.
All right, so it's gonna be a fun game. It always is a cool venue. And the uniforms are always great too. I love what they do. They show out. It's a cool scene. It's gonna be a fun game. It's very representative of a lot in this country. But at the end of the day, it's football, and that's what I love the most about it. I don't really get like rah like
Those
into
uniforms
it,
though.
but it's a fun game, and you know what? It really is like the only college football we have this week. So you might as well spend your Saturday watching a little bit of it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I don't really have a play either way because I think this is one of those games where you just kind of sit back and you appreciate the game for what it is, appreciate all the military members that do so much, and you just have a good time. Have a good Saturday. Enjoy this one. Don't stress yourself out with the bets on Saturday. Leave that for Sunday. But yeah, just sit back, enjoy this one, and have a good time. Have a beer, have a drink. Have a good one.
Have an Evan. Have a casual.
Have a casual sip or two, and you're having a good time. So, yeah, nothing crazy in this one.
It should be. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say it should be a chill game. Army's only 5-6. Navy's coming in at 4-7. So they're just kind of like having a kind of year, both teams.
Yep, and historically they both got weird styles of football.
Yeah, they love to run the ball, man. They
so
love
it's just
to
gonna be a
run the ball.
gritty, probably low scoring, sloppy game, and it'll be fun.
Surprisingly, Army is averaging almost 30 points a game this season, which is crazy. But I guess we'll see what happens with it. They're both back and forth. Navy did end the season beating UCF.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which is crazy. A nice little
That's right.
statement win for them at the end. But I guess Navy, so supposedly Navy's dominated most of, since 2000, they've dominated most of the games. They had 14 straight games winning over Army originally, but Army recently in the past years has taken over. But I think Navy upset them last year, I believe, after losing, I think, like 3 straight or what, I believe. It's so back and forth. It's insane.
Well, regardless, it's going to be fun.
I think Navy wins.
They probably will. I mean, they're favored. You might as well just lean with the favorite, but it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be... It's such a cool venue, and it's a cool game, too, because they really have the spotlight on Saturday. Like, after everything subsided and everything,
The only thing
you got the
competing-
champions, and you got the playoff figured out, and then you just get this game, and it's awesome.
Love it. Live it. Only thing competing with that would be the World Cup, but
That's a tough one to compete with.
it is. It's back and forth. You can split it right in between, but most people are probably want to watch regular college football compared to that. American football versus football.
That's very true.
It's a difference. The interesting thing is that Army is independent and Navy's in the American Conference.
Yeah, it
Isn't
is
that
weird.
weird?
Yeah, it is weird, but yeah, those military schools, it's
Because what about Air Force,
Air Force aren't they out west?
Yeah, they are out west,
yeah,
so they should be in, like, I don't even know what they should be in. Whatever D2 of the Pac-12 is. No disrespect, but... Anyways, that'll be a fun game to watch. If you guys want to check it out, I agree with Evan. I wouldn't bet on it, but...
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Just
enjoy it. It'll be a
It's
cool game.
spectacle. Yeah.
If you love watching running backs run or quarterbacks running, that's the game to watch for you.
you get a flashback into like the 80s, the way they play. It's nice.
They've always been that way, though. But respect. Onward to the NFL. All the juicy slates this week.
Yes, we're getting into the picks now. This is what the people come here for. This is what the people are thirsty. They're ready for it. So let's get into it.
Alrighty. First game on the slate. Our boys are back. Home.
They are.
Against the Vikings. Game 1. Lions minus 1.5.
Yeah, so what a crazy spread. I mean, Lions getting 1.5. You wouldn't expect it from a 5-7 team going up against a 10-2 team, but look, sometimes I like my data points. Sometimes I like looking at spreads, and I think they might be weird. I might go this way. I might blindly go with the spread just because I don't really know what to do, and Vegas is telling you to go one way, go the other. But like I said with TCU, I'm an eye test guy. I like to watch what I'm seeing, and I like to bet on that based on what I've seen. And over the past weeks, specifically the Lions' 4-1 stretch, they're playing as good as football as anyone in the NFL right now. They are. You cannot deny it. They played. It started with the Packers game, went on to the Giants game. The Bears, they played well. The Bills, they played well. I know that was a loss, but they still played well. And last week against the Jaguars, that was their coming out party. Dominant 40-14 win. You know where I'm going with this one. Vegas is telling you to pick the Vikings in one way. They're kind of tempting you to pick the Vikings. I shouldn't say they're telling you, but they're tempting you because you're getting a 10-2 team underdog. You know, the casual sports bettor is going to be like, I'll take the Vikings. And you're seeing that reflect in what the public is doing. They are leaning the Vikings. It isn't a massive lean, but it is a lean.
Don't
look,
it.
The Kool-Aid is out. The Kool-Aid is out. I'm all in on the Lions. 5-7. The playoff push begins now. What I've seen from the Vikings, 9-0 in one-score games, plus 10-point differential. That is the worst point differential for a 10-2 team. I've said this probably a million times by now. You don't have to believe in point differential, but it matters.
I agree.
It matters. Goff at home, 104.8 passer rating, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This is a home game for the Lions. And the Vikings pass defense gives up the most yards per attempt in the NFL. This is a beautiful spot for the Lions. They should have beat them earlier, week 3. Coaching decisions screwed them on the road. Dan Campbell knows what those decisions were, and he's not going to make them again. Lions -1.5. Let's ride, baby. Playoff push begins now.
Well, let me just say something. The Vikings schedule is interesting to look at. You want to know why? Because only 2 losses, right? Nice 10-2, but we talked about fraudulence. All their wins but one were by 8 points or less.
One-score game. 9-0 in one-score games.
That shows and says a lot.
You don't get that lucky in the NFL.
We talk about fraudulence. And the crazy thing is, they survived against the Bills.
Well, they got lucky that Josh Allen fumbled on the goal line.
And the crazy thing is, their 2 losses were good losses, in the sense that they got smacked.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't.
They got smacked by the
Cowboys. It was not a
Cowboys.
close loss. They were blown out.
And then you got
out.
2.5, almost 3-score loss to the Eagles early on the season.
Yep.
And I mean, the win against Green Bay at the beginning of the season, I don't even know if you count that as a good win at all in any sense.
They looked impressive, but at the same time,
one of their bigger wins, but
that was like the only game where I was like, okay, the Vikings kind of look good. And then after that, I have not been impressed with them at all. At all.
I agree.
The Lions are playing better football right now. It's an objective truth that the Lions are playing better football. The Vikings defense is horrendous. It's worse than the Lions. Who would have thought?
I'll tell you what, sir. One pride.
Yes, sir.
Lions never die.
One pride is on this weekend. Ford Field is going to be bumping. Standing room only right now.
Take the Lions -1.5, and you won't be sorry.
You have to take the Lions here.
All day.
A 5-7 team getting a 1.5 against a 10-2 team does not happen often, especially at this point in the season, right? Because, later in the year, the teams that are the 1-2 seed, they might bench their starting QB. Maybe a team with 6 wins. Maybe they're favored. This is not one of those games. This is early December, playoff push, time to make a statement. Lions are getting a 1.5. Vegas is like, yeah, take Minnesota. Take Minnesota. But they know they're telling you the Lions are going to win this game, and we're telling you the Lions are going to win this game. And if they don't win this game, something's going to happen to me. Something is going to happen to me on this show. I don't know. It'll be bigger than the pie in the face that is coming up. It'll be bigger than that. I don't know what's. If they lose this game, something crazy. But if they win, drown me in Kool-Aid live. Drown me in blue Kool-Aid. I want a blue Kool-Aid shower when we make the playoffs, and it starts with this game right here, right now, Sunday, 1 p.m., Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. get those engine foam block hats ready because we're going in and we're dominating this one. It is all Lions all day. Let's go, my friend.
Book it. Onward to game 2. Our ugly friends return, but high chance they're out without their ugly leader. The Ravens head to Pittsburgh. Steelers -1.5. Lamar Jackson probably not playing this week.
Definitely not playing.
Is that confirmed?
I'm
99% confirmed, probably.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you sprained your PCL, typically a 1 to 3 week injury. You're likely not going on Sunday. You know,
At least week 1 right away,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So Lamar more than likely out. I don't think it's confirmed, but we all know what it is. It's gonna be Tyler Huntley starting this week. Look, I said I would never pick Lamar and this Ravens team again. But since Lamar is not playing, I'm opening the door up to just considering it. I have to be fair. There is no Lamar Jackson in this game, so I have to be fair to Tyler Huntley. I cannot look at this through an objective hatred lens. I have to be fair. So what I did was I dug up some research. I dug up some stats because I said there's not a ton that I like from Baltimore recently. And now with Tyler Huntley starting, I need a little bit of history. I need a refresher. So I go back to last season.
Talk to me.
Tyler Huntley against the Pittsburgh Steelers last year lost 16-13 at home. Now, granted, you had Big Ben running the offense.
No running backs.
It kind of a slow-paced, check-down offense. Defense very similar. So it's basically the same Steelers team, except you got Kenny Pickett in at QB, which I think we can all say now probably better than Big Ben was last year. So that gives me some hope in leaning with the Steelers. But now, let's pause for a minute. Let's just look at what this game is. Ravens going on the road. This is the biggest rivalry in the NFL, I would say.
Really?
Ravens Steelers, biggest rivalry game in the NFL, in my opinion. This game is always good. They hate each other. And the fans hate. I mean, have you seen videos? It gets ugly. So it gets ugly. So look, T.J. Watt's back. Pittsburgh Steelers defense much better with T.J. Watt. And Mike Tomlin, he's never had a losing record. He refuses to go away. This is a classic Mike Tomlin game. You're at home. You're going up against your arch rival. And like I said, Kenny Pickett, he's not bad. Like, he's looked good. And Pittsburgh, they've won 4 straight against the Ravens, dating back to last year. Public is leaning Baltimore to cover, but I think this turns out to be a gritty game, and Pittsburgh wins it by 2 or 3. So give me the Steelers -1.5 here. AFC North battle. Give me the steel curtain. Play Renegade by Styx. I'm going to be coming out waving my terrible towel. Let's go. Steelers -1.5.
Is T.J. Watt confirmed playing? Because he's currently on the injury report.
He's on the injury report, but it sounds like he's going to go. He's a tough guy. The only thing that can keep him out is something that he's got to get surgery for, or, his torn pec that wasn't actually torn. I don't really know what happened to him.
It's all cap.
He was back, though, and, yeah, I think he's got a shoulder issue now, but sounds like he's going to go. So give me the Steelers.
You know what's crazy? The Ravens, on average, score almost the exact same as the Steelers' defense allows.
It's weird, right?
Almost 24 points a game for both sides. Now, the Steelers average about 18 points a game, while the Ravens allow almost 20 points a game.
Ravens' defense has been good this year.
They
Gotta
have
give them
been.
credit.
I agree. Compared to what it was last year, 100%.
Now, they have struggled at times. 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville, giving up the late touchdown drive. We've seen it a few other times, but they've also, Buffalo, they played well defensively against Buffalo. Some poor coaching decisions and mistakes made by Lamar cost them the win, but defense has played well this season at times. And I think what you're seeing now is the Ravens' offense taking a big step back because, without Lamar, who knows what they're going to be. But even last week against the Broncos, they weren't getting anything done. I know Lamar went out kind of early, but still, I know the Broncos' defense is pretty good, but they weren't getting anything done. And then against the Jaguars, red zone offense just completely evaded them.
It's a fair statement. If this game was at 3, I would feel differently about the Ravens. Personally.
Like a 4:00 game? Or?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm talking about like if it was +3.
Oh, okay. I was
+3,
gonna say.
-3.
Was that when you said 3? I was like, I don't think
3
they play-
o'clock.
Yeah, I was like, 3
No.
o'clock.
If this was plus -3, it'd be a different ball game. But I really thought about going with the Ravens. I was like, Huntley's a better thrower. He can kind of guide them. He can do better. But the Steelers have been playing well. If Pickett trusts himself, and you have a TJ Watt potentially back, trustworthy defense. It's a nice cold day in December at formerly known as Heinz Field. I think Pittsburgh survives and gets it done.
All right, so we're both on the steel curtain this week.
I spent all day looking at this one.
It's a tough one. And I think when you look at this game, you probably feel less confident if the Steelers hadn't just rattled off 2 in a row. They beat the Colts. They beat the Falcons. So they're playing some good football right now. They're winning games, and their defense is showing up. And Kenny Pickett looks all right. So it's like, all right, you've seen positive growth from the Steelers team, and I feel like you're seeing the Ravens team just go backwards. And look, they sneaked out a win last week against Denver, who's just a train wreck. But I'm just not impressed by what I'm seeing from Baltimore right now. I know they don't have Lamar, but it doesn't really matter for me. You know how I feel about Lamar. So, yeah, I think the Steelers is the right play here. I can see Baltimore, and I think you're right. If it was +3, if you're getting a little bit more points there for Baltimore, yeah, you can run that. But at this spread, you got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You just have to. And if Baltimore wins, good for them. But I think it's a Pittsburgh or pass.
I agree. I can't argue with that. I mean, I think I know we talk about how like sometimes it doesn't matter as much in the NFL, but I think this game being in Pittsburgh helps a lot.
I would think so.
Like just solely for just like the environment, because they're still figuring things out as the team. But I think this is one they are able to pull off, division win.
Well, and it's kind of like the Lions. The Pittsburgh Steelers were 3-7 a couple weeks ago, and you know what? You win 2 in a row, the fans will start showing up, and they're going to be loud. They're going to be energetic. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the best fan bases in the NFL. You don't really have to worry about that with Pittsburgh. But still, when you are winning games, people have an incentive to go and watch you play.
Absolutely.
And with this young, kind of revitalized Pittsburgh Steelers team, they're going to be they're hungry, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think in the coming years, hopefully, Kenny Pickett can be that guy for them. But yeah, I think we're both on the right side of this one. So I'm glad we're seeing eye to eye, because it is a tough game. It's a divisional game.
It could go either way, but
it really could go either way. But I think I opened my heart up to maybe picking Baltimore again, and everything I read and everything that my gut was telling me and what my eyes were showing me, go with Pittsburgh.
Let's roll. Game 3. This one made me want to cry thinking about it all day. Not really, but I was just stressed. We got the Bengals hosting the Browns, -5.5.
It's a very scary number.
This is extremely scary. And the Browns already beat the Bengals this year by a nice, not by a crazy amount, but by a nice little point margin.
19. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So, yeah, the Browns embarrassed the Bengals on Halloween night, 32-13. Nick Chubb and that defense just carried the day for him. So, 5.5 is scary, but it doesn't really surprise me either, because I think that's a pretty fair number for this. It's a divisional game. You got Deshaun Watson back, looked horrible last week against Houston. Not surprising, being that was his first game back in over 2 years, basically.
And a horrible place to play.
A terrible place to play. And he got everything that came at him. Like, he deserved it all, but he got it all. It was something I've never seen before. A player getting that much hate. Like, he deserves it for sure for everything that's happened, but it was kind of like wild to see. But back to this game. Look, the Bengals, they've really turned around. They've really turned it around. They were 0-2 to start the year. Now they're 8-4. Really impressive wins over Tennessee and Kansas City as of late. It's tough for me to look at this game and not pick the Bengals. But then I do some more digging. Joe Burrow is 0-4 in his career against the Cleveland Browns. 0-4. I was like, really? That's kind of weird.
That is interesting.
And also, Cleveland, 3-0 against the spread versus division opponents this year. And per the Action Network, 75% of the public is on Cincinnati. So I'm looking at this. Joe Burrow 0-4 against the Browns. Public heavy on the Bengals. Browns undefeated against the spread against division opponents. For the sake of this game, I'm a Deshaun Watson guy. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Browns.
You should say I'm a Nick Chubb guy.
Well, he's like, if they got any shot, it's got to be on Deshaun. So yeah, Browns plus 5.5. That's my pick. It's kind of sickening. I don't like it. I don't like riding with Deshaun right now because he is fresh off of barely any playing time, and all the sexual assault stuff is just disgusting. But this is about a game. It's about picking a point spread. I got to go with the Brownies here. Plus 5.5. I'm locking it in.
You and them Brownies, man. It's crazy. That last matchup, everything was based on possession and turnovers, you know? Both teams had 2 turnovers, but the Browns had way more possession time, and they had almost 500 yards of offense as compared to only like just over 200 for the Bengals, which is insane. That means their defense was playing really well, but is Denzel Ward going to play? Is Myles Garrett going to play? You know, a lot of those can factor into how things go. Is Mixon back for the Bengals? It seems so, but Samaje Perine has been playing great as well. I mean, the whole offense of the Bengals has been clicking, but Deshaun, if he is on, he's something else. He really is something else.
Look, there's a reason why the Browns gave up so much for him. I know there's a lot of ugliness that comes with him, and it does not make me feel good riding with the Browns this week, but he is a superstar. He is a superstar quarterback. He has that kind of talent, and you're right, when he's on, there's not many quarterbacks that you can confidently say are better than him.
He's in that upper tier class.
I know it's been a while since we've seen him play, and it can give you a lot of pause to say that, but it's true. He is one of those guys. He is. And, will it be on display this weekend? I don't know. The Bengals defense, they're stout. They've been playing well. They made Kansas City's offense look very pedestrian. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow, not that he's played bad against the Browns, but he's 0-4.
Are his team.
And it seems like the Browns just kind of have his number. They've been able to sack him 17 times in 4 games.
That was the biggest weakness for the Bengals.
It just feels like a spot for the Browns. And it's a scary number, 5.5. It's not a number that surprises me because I do think it's one of those tempting numbers, and it really gets you on to play the Bengals. And trust me, I do too. But you got to be logical. You got to be smart, and that's why I think you stay away from the Bengals, go with the Browns. What do you think?
It's going to be a tight game. It's honestly going to be a tight game, I think, this time around compared to last time. Everything logically on the picking wise, you want to go Browns. You know, the public, like you said, the public is probably pushing
heavy on the Bengals.
Heavy on the Bengals. Well, call me the public because I'm riding with Joe Burr, baby.
Hey, it's not like the public is always wrong.
I think I think this just does it, and I think it's like a touchdown win.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, look, like I said, the public is not always wrong. Like, there are weeks where I've been wrong about the public being, like, going heavy on a team. And, we've seen a lot with, like, the Seahawks. That's been a very, favorite public team. Like, Seahawks get a good spread. Public goes crazy on them. And I've been like, let me stay away from that. And the Seahawks end up covering the spread. So it's not like this is a proven science. It's like, if you go away from the public, you're always going to win.
Science
that's
rules.
It's just not how it works. But I think this is one of those spots when you kind of juxtapose the 5.5 with the public going heavy, it scares me. But the Bengals are a better football team, and they're playing really well right now. So
I'm riding the hot hand.
Like I said, sometimes most of the time it's eye test for me. Sometimes it's all about I'm all about Vegas, and I'm all about those numbers. So it varies. It's case by case.
We'll see how much they have his number.
Fluid.
We'll see how much they have his number.
We'll see.
All right. Brownies and Bengals. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Onward. Game 4 of 5. They're back. They're fighting. Jets at Bills. -10 for the Bills. My goodness.
So let me start by saying this. I'm not going to spoil who I'm picking, but this is the second easiest game of the week for me to pick. The first one was the Lions. I think that's a hammer spot. I think that's a no-brainer. This one is close. So I loved the Jets last week. They should have got it done. They came up short. They had every opportunity to win that game, and the Vikings just skate by. But I look at this game, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, if I'm a casual guy, Jets beat the Bills last time. They made Josh Allen look like Josh Rosen. It was unreal. Divisional game, usually close, competitive, and 10 points just seems like a big number. So, that's me if I'm a casual guy, right? But I'm not a casual guy. I think this is incredibly savvy play by me here. I'm going to pat myself on the back. It's Bills -10 for me. 60% of the public is on the Jets per Action Network. That's not a crazy lean. But this feels like one of those spots where Josh Allen and the Bills show the Jets who Buffalo really is. I saw Buffalo play last week. They played a different brand of football against the Patriots. It was clock, time possession, and dominance. And I have not seen that from Buffalo. They proved that they can do that. And against this Jets team, I think that's important. I think that's really important because last time, what did they try to do? They tried to make the big play. They tried to be, Mr. Flashy, Josh Allen. He tried to do too much, and that's what the Jets wanted him to do. He refused to take what they were giving him, which was the short passing game. I think Buffalo learns from their mistakes from the first time playing the Jets. I think they bounce back here in the second game at home. And look, I know they just lost Von Miller. It hurts, right? But you got 10 days of rest. I think they're the defense and this offense both ready to punish the Jets. Mike White, I'm sorry. We were praising it last week. I don't think it's in the cards for him this week. And look, we talked about the Jets defense. It's great last week. Numbers outstanding, 5.8 yards per attempt, 4 yards per carry. They've been good all year. But at some point, they got to break. They're not going to be amazing every single week.
It's true.
I think it's the Bills this week, -10. It's a big number. It's scary, but I'm leaning the Bills, and I'm going with the Bills. Second easiest game of the week for me, like I said. Bills -10.
Yeah, last time Zach Wilson played, and he actually didn't even do that much last game. The dude was literally he was 18 for 25, 154 yards, and 1 touchdown. And it was a 2017 win. Did you really do that much? Michael Carter carried them more than he did. Absolutely. Garrett Wilson did okay. Buffalo still had barely, but still had more yards offensively. Unfortunately, Buffalo did have more turnovers because of the 2 interceptions of Josh Allen. New York had more time of possession. They barely had more first downs. It's in Buffalo. No Von Miller. They are playing well. But I am ready for my heart to be broken again. And I'm picking the Jets. Jets. You think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I don't. Because
I think this could hit right on the money.
You might be right.
I think this could literally be
it might be
30-20 game.
It might be a push. We don't know. We'll see. But, I did because it opened up at 9.5. I did like this number a little bit more at 9.5 because if it is a 10-point game, obviously, you're covering that spread at 10. You do risk yourself here for a push, which is scary. But I do think the Bills just blow the brakes off of them. I do. I think the Jets have been playing really good, and they're really gritty. They're tough. They're young. They're fun to watch defensively. But at some point, Buffalo is going to tell New York who they are. They're going to flex their muscles a little bit, and they're going to be angry after losing them earlier in the year.
That's fair enough. My only statement to close this game is that Buffalo needs to blow them out. Buffalo needs to blow them out.
I
for
would
themselves, for what they're trying to do, for the players they've lost, for the game they had last time. The Bills need to blow them out.
Yeah, optics definitely would play a big role here. If like just how people would view them. I mean, because people like view Buffalo as a superpower, right? But they've also haven't looked like entirely great this year. They've had weeks where they've struggled, including their first matchup against the Jets. So now they get a little bit of a redemption here. What do you do in this second game? Do you fold under the pressure again? Do you make the same mistakes you did? Or do you learn from it and show the New York Football Jets that you're the better team and that you're legit Super Bowl contenders? Because right now, I agree. We need to see it from Buffalo. We saw last week against New England. They played really well on the road. Now do it again at home against a team that you lost to earlier in the year. So I think you're not crazy for picking the Jets plus 10 because, like I said, divisional game, 10 points is a lot. And there's a very good chance I sound like the idiot and the Bills don't cover the spread, but 10's a big number for a team you already lost to. And I think Vegas kind of wants you to pick New York, but they know Buffalo's coming for the Jets' heads here. So either way, I think...
You know what's exactly going to happen? It's going to be a 13-point game, right? Buffalo's up 13. Jets get in field goal range. Blow it. Could have kicked it to give me that 10. They're going to blow it. Buffalo's going to have the ball and just wind the clock down. And that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to sit there in disappointment again. And all these teams are just going to come up short. I pick the guys who can give it their all when there's 2 seconds left on the clock. And that's what happens. But whatever. I'm taking the Jets. Let's see what happens. Buffalo needs to blow them out. I think Buffalo still wins the game, but Buffalo needs to blow them out for their own mindset and things going forward.
I agree.
All right, last game. This is kind of a juicy one. We haven't had these boys on yet. Panthers at Seahawks. -3.5 Seahawks. How are we feeling on this one? It's kind of an interesting game.
It is.
Or not.
It's very interesting because I look at the spread and it's kind of weird, right? 3.5 points for a Panthers team that's kind of been struggling all year and a Seahawks team that has been a surprise. We've all seen it. Surprise team in the NFC. They've been pretty good all season long, consistently good. But this is a difficult game for me to pick because I do have a team in the Carolina Panthers that I just can't trust. It's really hard for me to trust them. And on the flip side, it's also hard for me to trust Seattle because their defense has been dreadful. They're allowing 5 yards per carry and 7 yards per attempt on the season. And lately, it feels like offenses have just been having their way. We saw the Rams last week have one of their best offensive weeks all season long. We saw the Raiders put up a ton of points last week. Josh Jacobs, overtime winner. The week before, I'm forgetting who they lost to. It was an overtime. It's evading me right now. Look it up really quick, but I'll just keep rattling it off here. It's just been weeks on weeks of poor defensive performances.
Are we talking Seattle?
Yes. I believe they had 2 overtime losses in a row. One was to Las Vegas, and then I'm missing the other.
They didn't lose twice. They lost twice in a row, but not twice in OT. They lost on the last play to the Buccaneers, 21-16.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, so that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I think the Raiders were actually the team that went in overtime back-to-back weeks. But c'est la vie. It's over. Whatever. So looking at this game, right? Going cross-country concerns me for Carolina. It always is kind of a fear when an East Coast team goes to the Pacific Northwest.
Seattle's a place to play.
Sam Darnold, he's a starter. He's back. Who would have thought?
After Baker popped off.
He's from the West Coast. And I have always felt this way about Sam Darnold. I think he's not a bad quarterback.
Given a bad hand.
Like I do think he's been given a bad hand, and I think he gives them the best chance to win. Like out of all the quarterbacks they had this season, including Baker, who I do love. I love his personality.
Me too.
He's a guy I love to root for. But I do think Sam Darnold gives them the best chance to win, and he's got a clear connection with DJ Moore. Now you combine that with Carolina being able to effectively run the ball against a weak Seattle defensive front. I think Carolina has a good shot in this game. And while Carolina not great against the run defensively, there is probably a good chance that K9 isn't going to go, and the backup DJ Dallas, he also popped up in the injury report. Not sure if he's going to go. So they're really banged up in their RB room. And Carolina's pass defense, allowing a pass rating of 88.6. That is good for 10th in the NFL, just 6.2 yards per attempt. I love that stat, by the way. Yards per attempt really shows you how far teams are pushing the ball downfield. The lower the number, the more...
The better you feel.
Yeah, the better you feel, the less likely they're going to be giving up big plays. Carolina's been doing that all year long. Questions certainly to be asked about how Carolina is going to fare now on the road, on the West Coast. Sure, all good questions, but give me the Panthers here. I think they get it done. I'm not saying they win, but 3.5, I like that field goal hook. It's a fun spot. Give me the Panthers.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting thing to see with potentially no run game. Can Geno Smith really put it on his back and be like, trust me, I'm the guy here. I'm gonna get paid this offseason. Like, just trust that I can do this. I mean, you still got guys in DK Metcalf, Lockett. They still have always trusty tight ends. And, they're not a bad team, but they start off kind of hotter than people expected. And like we thought, the Giants we've seen fall off, right? And just kind of not be into it. I agree, the cross-country thing's a big deal. Seattle's probably the most unfortunate place to play if you're going to the West Coast.
Tough, man. That's a tough place to play.
It's wild, especially if rain starts getting involved. It's the winter. We don't know what to expect. The Panthers have had some tough breaks this season, though. But, their defense is still, a pretty average one in the league. They're not awful. Seattle's is definitely worse because they're technically almost a bottom 5 unit in the NFL defensively.
It's crazy because they do have Tariq Woolen, who's been an outstanding rookie, one of the best cornerbacks we've seen just kind of break out on the scene. Late round draft pick, too. He's absolutely popped off this year, and he's looked the part. Definitely in the race for Rookie of the Year, defensively wise. But other than that, I mean, who's the playmaker on defense for Seattle? Like, who do they have? They're very thin on all units, on all levels.
The boom's gone.
It's gone, right? And Carolina, with Sam Darnold, I think the passing attack can be there. And if Deonta Foreman is healthy, they're going to be able to run the football against Seattle. They are very thin up front, very thin. So I look at this game and I'm like,
love that hook.
I like the hook here. I do. I like the hook. And you know what? This is just one of those games where I feel like no one's going to give Carolina a chance, and they go out and win it. I don't know why, but that's just how I'm feeling.
You want to know how I'm feeling? Hot, hot, hot. But I am feeling a Panthers plus 3.5, my friend.
Yes. Okay.
Keep pounding. I'm with you on the Panthers plus 3.5. I think it could definitely go either way. I can't say I think Seattle wins by this or whatever. I think it can go either way, but I think that plus 3.5 is way better for the Panthers all day.
All right. Sounds good. I'm loving it. So let's run it down.
Were you expecting me to pick Seattle?
I don't really know. I feel like it's one of those games where it can go either way, like you said, and I'm not really convinced Carolina gets it done, but I just have this like weird feeling that they are. So I'm kind of rolling with them.
I feel that.
With all the injuries too. I mean, no K9. You already lost Rashad Penny. That's big. Like, Seattle's built on run the football. That's what Pete Carroll likes to do. And if you can't do that, I mean, sure.
Carolina can focus on the run, the pass game.
And that's what they do well. Their pass defense is good. Jeremy Chin, the back end, stud. J.C. Horn, stud. They have good playmakers on the defensive end. And Brian Burns, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, can get after the QB. That bodes well. And Seahawks offensive line, very young, has overperformed, I would say. They've done well this year, but still inexperienced, youthful. There's a good spot here for Carolina, and I'm glad we're both on them. Anyway.
Love it.
Let's run down what we talked about.
Run it down.
We talked about college football playoff. We're going to obviously get into those picks later on. Once we get closer to New Year's Eve, and it'll be an exciting time. But for this week, Vikings at Lions. Lions getting 1.5 at home. We are both riding with the Detroit Lions.
Woo!
What an electric game that's going to be. Hopefully, we get to 6 and 7. The playoff push starts now.
Let's roll, baby.
Ravens at Steelers, one of the best rivalries in the NFL. Steelers getting 1.5, and we are both riding with Pittsburgh. Shocker. After we both got
Is that Wichita State, baby?
Let's see it. Browns at Bengals, -5.5. I'm right at the Browns. You're right at the Bengals.
Burr, baby.
Burr, baby. No, it's Deshaun's time to
Joe
come back.
Shiesty.
Makes me sick. Makes me sick. And Jets at Bills, game 4. I'm right at the Bills, -10. You are on Jets, +10. We'll see how that one goes in cold, maybe snowy, Buffalo,
That'd
New
be
York.
a good game.
And then in the last game of the NFL slate for episode 9 here,
This
Panthers at Seahawks. Seahawks
interesting.
getting 3.5. Panthers +3.5. We're both on it. And hopefully we keep pounding. And that will help out the Lions too, because Panthers go up 1 over the Rams, and the Seahawks drop 1 for the Lions to maybe catch them in the playoff chase. So there, but look, I didn't give any thought of that when I was making this pick.
Everything's up in the air right now.
That is totally in the back of my mind when I'm, or not in the back of my mind when I'm making this selection. I was looking at this game objectively. I'd pick Seattle if I felt good about them. I don't in this spot. Glad we don't either. So that's our picks. That's the rundown. Episode 9, man. We are flying through the football season.
I
and
know.
It is really, shout out Scott Hansen here, Red Zone. We're into the witching hour. We are into the witching hour of the NFL season. This is where you have to win games. Every game feels like a must win. And shouting out the Lions once more. Feels like a win or go home from here on out. You got to win. You have to win if you want any hope. And while it's a small chance that they are going to do so, that's the intensity that you have to bring with every game.
Not that the NFL hurt me last week, but college football did. And this week, I am on a revenge tour for my positive record back.
I think you're going to do it.
There's a lot of favor. We're only against each other in 2 games, which is probably going to be the 2 games I lose, and Evan's going to sweep again. But that still means if that's the case, then I'm back to even.
That's all you can ask for. If
And
you
that's
can
all I
go
can
3-2
ask for.
this week,
That's all I can ask for.
that's all you can ask for. You'll get back up, and you'll be feeling good about yourself again.
Winning week, even record.
That's all you can ask for.
What a lovely way to end it.
Well, that's it. That's it.
That's all we can ask
That's
for.
all she wrote. That's all she wrote this week.
That is, because I'm out of paper. I got no more space on my paper. But thank you guys for watching or listening another episode of Squeeze the Juice week/episode 9. Follow us on all the socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those post notifications. Hit the like button. Drop comments on all platforms. Let us know your picks. Let us know what picks you don't like. Come at us. Love with us. We don't care because we're just having fun.
We're just having fun. Money's on the line, but it's not real advice. So you don't got to listen to us. But if you do, I mean,
Do what you want.
do what you want. I mean, if you listen to me all season long, you'd be doing good.
If you listen to me, you're not doing bad.
No, you're not doing bad at all. I mean,
And if you're in the NFL, you're doing fine.
yeah, if you're in the NFL, listen to Justin. Not that I'm doing good in the NFL too, but
Evan came back. He came charging back.
I came charging back, and hopefully we continue that because 2-3 in the NFL last week left a sour taste in my mouth. I did feel good going 2-1 in college. I've been on with college. I don't know what it is.
You hit that stride.
I've had a good pulse on it. I've been feeling good. NFL, I started off weak. And I came storming back. Now I want to get back on that storming path, and I think you will too. I think we got some good picks this week. Let's both try to go 4-1. Huh? Let's go 3 for 3 on the picks we agree on, and how about we just split? Let's split
the other one?
Yeah, split the
Fair
Browns,
enough.
Bengals, and Bills, Jets. Huh? Let's
enough.
split one. Let's both go 4-1.
and it could happen. It could happen.
It can happen. So let's enjoy it. Let's have a good Sunday. Let's have a great week of college football too with Army Navy. I know it's like the only game on, but
That's
let's
true.
still enjoy it. And we're on to the next one, man. On to the next one.
On to the next.
Keep chopping. Keep chopping.
NFL's coming strong. NFL's coming
Keep
strong.
chopping, baby. Let's go.
We may throw some bowl games in there the rest of the season, but we're not actually going to pick them. It'll be just for fun until the playoffs hit. NFL from here.
Let's do it.
We will see you guys next time. That's another episode. Peace.